Hello, everyone. My name is Stanley St. Rose, and today we're going to be talking about Of Mice and Men, written by John Steinbeck. Now, before I go into the summary and analysis of this novel, please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and/or comment so that the channel can continue to grow. Now, Of Mice and Men begins with us being introduced to the main characters, George and Lennie. George and Lennie are these two individuals. They're not quite similar. In the novel, we kind of see them going from farm to farm, trying to find jobs and trying to save up to make a better life for themselves. Um, Lenny has a history of getting in trouble. He's this man of great strength. He's a big man. He does things that are not always guided, or he doesn't really think things through. After you read the novel, or while you're reading the novel, you can sense that he has some sort of mental disability. So because of the fact that he doesn't really have total control over what he's doing, he gets into trouble a lot. In fact, the reason why at the beginning of a novel, why we see them moving from one farm to another, it's because Lenny got in trouble because he touched this girl's dress, and the girl screamed rape, and then the mob just came after him. So basically, George, who's a friend of Lenny's and who knows Lenny's aunt, kind of like decides to help take care of Lenny. And him and Lenny, they leave the old farm that they were on, and they're off on their own. And keep in mind, this is during the Great Depression. This is when Americans were just having a hard time to live, to make an income, and to just survive. So a lot of people are moving from farm to farm, trying to find ends meet. So the novel goes on, and we kind of like see Lenny and George in the beginning of the novel, kind of just in a wilderness or a forest-like area, and they're camping and they're eating what they have with them, and they're just kind of like dreaming of the future. And it's kind of this is really like the American way of life. Americans, we always have this like idea of things are going to get better, or we always have this dream of success, things that we can do, things that as long as we work hard, this is like a central belief in American life. As long as you work hard enough, and as long as you believe in yourself, as long as you break your back working, or trying to be something, you're going to make it, you're going to be successful. And so George and Lenny, they kind of had this same mentality throughout the novel. They have this same mentality of going throughout the novel, that they're going to own a farm one day of their own, and they're going to have chickens, they're going to have, orchard, apple trees and peach trees, and everything's going to be peach perfect, and everything is just, the way that they wanted. Lenny likes rabbits. He's dreaming about having rabbits and soft things to pet and soft things to play with. And so, they're thinking about a good life for themselves. Lenny, while they're in the wilderness, he does have like a dead mouse in his hands that he likes to pet, but it's dead, and George throws it away, and Lenny's not happy because of this. But it's dead, and he probably could have even gotten an infection or sick from playing with a dead rat, a dead mouse. So the novel goes on, and they're about to reach another farm, this ranch that has jobs available. And George knows that Lenny is probably going to get in trouble. And the next scene kind of like confirms that he's going to get in trouble, because George tells Lenny that this creek that we're in, this area that we're in, if you get into trouble, just leave the farm that we're going to and just come hide here, because I know there's a great chance that you're going to get in trouble. And honestly, when you're reading this, when I was reading this, I saw that something's going to happen, because when authors use devices like this, when they present something to you, they never just leave it behind. They always come back to use it. So George telling Lenny to come to this pond or to come to this creek when he gets in trouble, that's telling you he is going to get in trouble. So the novel goes on. They reach this ranch, and they get hired as barley, bucking barley. They basically work as, taking sacks of barley, throwing it onto a truck, and just heavy labor jobs basically. They meet other farm hands. They meet Candy, Slim, and Carlson, and people who work. on the farm, and they just get him like a minimum payment. And Candy is an interesting character that they meet. He's been working on this ranch for his literally his entire life, basically. He's pretty much an old man. He lost a hand in farm work. He has this old dog that he loves, and what ends up happening with the old dog is that Carlson, another farmhand, ends up killing it because the dog is really old and it's time for it to die. And this was, although Candy's a man, he's not gonna go crying and bawling about it, but it's something that hurts him because when the shot goes off and they hear the gun go off, it's a very tough moment. It's this dog that Candy loved. It's this dog that it's his companion. It's something that's been with him for a very long time, and now it's dead. And Candy is this man. He's been working hard to do something with his life or to be something with his life, but that really never gets done. And in this moment, you kind of see as the reader that this man has worked all of his life for a farmer, for the owner of the farm. He has nothing to show for it. He has a little bit of savings. His dog is dead, and he has one hand left. So even though that maybe he had dreams when he was younger, they're all gone now, and his time is almost up on the earth. So Candy kind of overheard George and Lennie talking after they've been on the farm for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, and they're like talking about having their own farm and having this and that, and they're dreaming of a bright future for themselves. And Candy's like, "Can I get on? Can I get on that? I like the idea that you guys have, and I have a little bit of money saved up. Can I help you guys and be a part of this farm?" And they agree because Candy has more money than them, and they realized if they worked for a few more months that the three of them could put their money together and buy the farm, even if it's not the biggest farm, but they have enough to buy the farm. And so George's and Lenny's dream actually, at this instance, it kind of seemed like it can happen. It kind of seems like it can go through because now they have the funding, they're in the right area, they have a supporter or a person that's going to partner with them, and everything seems great. Um, well, things don't stay great for too long. We meet Curly and his issues. Curly is this kind of like short guy. He's a boxer and he's the son of the farm's owner. And he comes up to this like cabin or this place where all the farm hands kind of sleep. And he sees Lenny and he sees how big Lenny is, and he's like, "Man, I want to fight Lenny. I want to show that I'm a man that's bigger and taller and stronger than Lenny." And Lenny is this huge person, right? He's huge. He's super strong. You don't want to mess with Lenny, and he has a mental disability where he's not going to control himself. So if you antagonize him, he's going to attack you. So he just starts hitting and punching Lenny for no reason, and Lenny tries to back up and try to go away from him, but he won't stop. He keeps hitting him. He keeps hitting him, and eventually, what happens? Lenny grabs his hand and crushes it without breaking a sweat, and breaks Curly's hand. Um, and basically, Curly goes away, and they tried like all the farmhands. They're like, we saw what happened, and if you try to get Lenny fired, we're gonna tell everybody what happened and how weak you are. So he just leaves Lenny alone, kind of after this, and he walks away with his broken hand. So well, next thing that happens that really breaks the dreams of George and Lenny and Candy of them having a better future for themselves is that George and some other farmhands they kind of go away to a brothel to have a good time, and Lenny, for an instance, he's kind of like left behind by himself. They tried like at a certain point he had a little dog, but the thing that's wrong with Lenny is that whatever dog or rabbit or whatever animal you give him, after a while, he just ends up killing them because he doesn't know how to use his own strength or how to be gentle. He likes petting soft things, but it goes to the point where he pets them and loves them so much that he breaks them or kills them or snaps their neck. So at this point in the novel, where Lenny's all by himself and everybody's away, he's kind of like he's not happy because all his animals keep dying, and Curly's wife, who gets no name and who kind of doesn't really have an identity of her own in the novel, She's the only woman that appears in this novel, but she doesn't have an identity or anything. And basically, what happens is that she sees Lennie. She tries to comfort him and try to say, I like soft things too. I like to brush my hair because it's so soft. And she offers Lennie her hair. She says, you can pet my hair and you can touch my hair. And Lennie starts to do that. And then, he starts to play a little rough. And she jerks her head away. And Lennie overreacts and he grabs her head, covers her mouth, and it just becomes like a head lock. And he ends up not knowing his own strength again and snapping her neck. And basically, she's dead. Yeah, so now he committed murder. And so he realized that he just killed somebody, and this is a whole new level. It's not just killing animals anymore, and now he killed a human. And so he runs off. He remembered that George told him that if you get in trouble, go to the creek, go to the wilderness, go to the woods, and just hide. And when everybody comes back, they find the woman's dead body. Curly finds his wife. He's mad. He's like, I'm killing Lennie. And, you know, during the Great Depression or during the time that this book was written, I guess, somebody kills your wife and there's no calling the cops or, I don't know, the sheriff. You just put a mob together. I don't know if you guys have pitchforks and torches, but if anybody does something bad to you, you handle it yourself. Don't call the authorities. So he just gathers up his men or the farm hands, and they're off to find Lennie to kill him. But George knows that he told Lennie to hide in the brush and in the wilderness. So he goes, he has a gun with him, and when he finds Lennie tells him to tell him about the farm again, tell him about the good time and how they're gonna have bunnies and orchards and all these nice things. And George, tells him about it. Before George even finds Lennie kind of has these hallucinations that pretty much tell him that, yeah, everything's gonna get worse. George is done with you. Like George is not gonna bother with you anymore, and it's really sad. So George comes and he talks to Lennie about what's going on, and um, you know, he tries to cheers him up with the dream of the farm that they can have one day. And after doing so, he asks him to remove his hat, and George shoots Lennie in the back of the head. And pretty much the novel ends like that, and George has to cope with killing his kind of best friend, or they're not family members, but they're almost like family members. And pretty much the dream dies after this, and the novel kind of tells, or Steinbeck kind of tells us that George is not going to have that farm, and Kenny's not going to have that farm. Kenny's probably going to die on the ranch, and George might just stay there and keep working and go to brothels and get drunk because his dream is not going to come true. So that's pretty much the summary, and let's just talk about the analysis and what's the deeper meanings. Let me give you guys my 2 cents about what I think about this novel. Um, I think overall, this novel kind of tells us it speaks on the American dream. I think all Americans have this dream that as long as you work hard, as long as you do what's right, you're going to be successful. You're going to make it out in the end. And that is true. That is a fundamental principle. That is a universal principle that has a lot of truth to it. But at the same time, not all dreams come true. Not everybody makes it. Not The American dream is not always true for everyone. It's still out there. I think even in 2020 right now, even when the coronavirus is killing people left and right, I think that it's still relevant. I think people can still be successful and still be wealthy in America. There's still a lot of opportunities out there. But at the same time, there's a lot of people that don't make it. There's a lot of people that dream of things that stay dreams and that just die. A great example I can give you is that look at how many people go to California. A lot of people that leave their homes in different countries and go to California to become actresses and musicians and performers and this and that. and they can't make it because the competition is just too extreme, and they often become um, waitresses and waiters and have to find some other means of working in California, which is extremely expensive. Um, that happens for a lot of people. A lot of people, I think there's like two classes in California. There are the actors and those who didn't become actors. And there's more parallels and there's more examples like that where there are people that make it and there are people that don't. I'm not saying that people shouldn't try. They should try, but you just have to understand that the American dream comes with consequences, and the consequences are not always perfect or good. So they had their dream. They tried to make their dream happen, but it just didn't. And um, George had to get away from Lennie and kind of like make his own way in life. And the only way he could do that is by killing Lennie. I mean, he could have waited for Curly to kill Lennie or the mob to kill Lennie, but I guess in his mind, he did it the most humane way as possible, just putting one bullet through his head. If it was up to the mob and Curly, Lenny would have probably gotten tortured and beaten to a pulp before they actually killed him. So that's really the end of the novel. Nobody's dreams come through. It's a very sad ending. There's no happily ever after, and I mean, it is a sad ending by John Steinbeck. It also says a lot. There are some religious principles in it too. I think you can go back to the Bible and just see how sometimes people are responsible for other people, and that's a central idea that comes out of Genesis in the Bible. So that's pretty much the novel. That's pretty much the idea that comes out of it. I hope you guys like that summary and analysis. Please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and or comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video.